Welcome back to This is a Commander channel, where this is a Commander channel, and today I'm going to talk about Commander Tough Rules and Cool Interactions, episode 11. This episode is part 2 in a series focusing on strange things involving the combat phase, and in part 2 I'm going to be going over the difference between attacking and actually being declared as an attacker. Most of what I talk about today will be covered in the comprehensive rules in section 508, so for any specifics that I bring up, check the video's description for those rules. Two of the many hidden things in the game that players encounter all the time but are probably unaware of their actual names in the rules are the combat requirements and restrictions. Rule 508.1d requires that the maximum number of requirements must be obeyed without disobeying any restrictions. For example, the active player controls two creatures, one that has attacks if able, and one with no abilities. An effect is out that states no more than one creature can attack each turn. The only legal attack is for just the creature that attacks if able to attack. It's illegal to attack with the other creature, attack with both creatures, or attack with neither creature. In your average game of Commander these days, you'll run into that requirement most often when a player is doing some goading type effects. One of the recent creatures from the D&D precons, Karazakar the Eye Tyrant, does this, and I hope that you all encounter this in Commander a lot. I built a deck based around him, and he is now my most favorite deck to run. Maybe one day I'll get around to making some deck tech videos, and I'll tell you all why you're missing out on a ton by not playing a Karazakar deck. One of the most common restrictions you'll encounter in an average game of Commander will probably be cards like Propaganda and Ghostly Prison that force you to pay in order to attack. Another common restriction is seen on cards like Miri Weatherlight Duelist and Silent Arbiter that limit how many creatures can attack. The last kind of restriction that I'm going to bring up are things that limit the attackers based on certain qualities of the creatures, like the power restrictions seen on Ensnaring Bridge. All of these attack restrictions I've mentioned are very common effects that you'll see in an average game of Commander, and you can find ways around all of them. First, I'll clarify something with the Ensnaring Bridge effect, and then I'll talk about a way to get around all three of these restrictions. Ensnaring Bridge stops creatures that are a certain power from attacking. So, if the owner of Bridge has 3 cards in hand when I'm declaring my attackers, I can't attack with my Leonin War Leader as it has a power of 4. But let's say you have out only a Silverwing Squadron. It is only a 1/1, as it is your only creature, so you attack with it, and then its triggered ability creates 3 2/2 Knights as you have 3 opponents. And now your Silverwing Squadron is a 4/4. Does this remove the Silverwing Squadron from combat because of the bridge? No, it does not. When you declare it as an attacker, it was safe, and effects like that on the bridge do not remove creatures already in combat from combat, only being declared as an attacker. So now onto the thing you can do to get around all 3 of these restrictions, and that leads us to the words enters the battlefield tapped and attacking, which confuse players all the time in so many Commander games that I'm in and also around. A couple of the most common cases of this that you'll run into are going to be Kalia of the Vast and Winota Joiner of Forces abilities, both of which that bring in creatures that are tapped and attacking. If your opponent is running both a Propaganda and Silent Arbiter, you can attack with your Kalia, paying the 2 mana for the propagation, and also being the only creature that you're declaring to attack with. Then her ability will go onto the stack, and when it resolves, you bring into play your Aurelia the War Leader, tapped and attacking, with no need to pay an additional 2 into the propaganda. I've seen a lot of players get confused over how this doesn't violate those cards, but that's because, like the bridge example earlier, these effects only stop a creature from being declared as an attacker during the attack step. If you ever run into an issue explaining this to a player that you're in a game with, try mentioning how the creature you brought out with the triggered ability doesn't have haste, yet it's still attacking the turn that it entered. Haste allows creatures to attack the turn that they entered, being declared as an attacker, but these non-hasty creatures are entering already as an attacker, which is why this all works. That might help them to wrap their head around the concept. I'm going to end this episode here, but there were a few cards in here that are teasers to a follow-up episode that I'll do on this whole attacking versus declared as an attacker thing. So keep an eye out for the Combat Phase Part 2.5 episode soon. I hope you've maybe learned something while watching this video, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please feel free to ask any questions that you have about any of these kind of situations. Also, hit me up with any rules questions that you have, or if you want any clarification on how certain cards interact with each other. Have a good one. Ta-ta.